All right, let's talk about what it really takes to make it as a trader. We're going to dive into the incredible story of Vincent Desiano, a guy who went from totally spinning his wheels for years to making millions. And get this, his secret isn't some super complex system. It's all about mastering one simple idea.
So let's just start with a number. $320,000. I mean, that's a staggering amount of money, right? But what if I told you that wasn't his profit for the entire year?
Nope. That was his profit in just the first 20 days of the year. I mean, think about that. That one number tells you everything you need to know about the trajectory he was on. And it's really the core of what we're going to unpack today.
So, of course, the big question is, how? How did he pull that off? And the answer is actually so much simpler than you'd think. He wasn't using a dozen crazy indicators or some secret algorithm. He just mastered one single repeatable strategy. And that's exactly what we're going to break down. But listen, it wasn't always massive profits and smooth sailing. Not at all. Before he got there, he had to go through a period of, well, a lot of struggle. It's what he calls phase one, the learning years.
And what's so powerful about this first phase is just how relatable it is. I mean, sound familiar to anyone? He starts out at 18 years old, totally inspired by a movie, of all things, and then spends the next 4 years in this experimental phase. He's trying everything, penny stocks, Forex, hopping from one strategy to the next. The whole time, his focus was on the wrong thing, just trying to make a quick buck. And the result? You guessed it. He was just spinning his wheels, going absolutely nowhere fast.
But here's the kicker. This is the single most important decision that kept him alive, metaphorically speaking. Even though he wasn't profitable yet, he was really smart about his risk. He never bet the farm. It was never so much money that one bad trade would just take him right out of the game. And that right there is what allowed him to stick around long enough to actually learn from all those mistakes. And that led to this massive, crucial mindset shift. It was like a light bulb went off. He finally realized this whole early phase couldn't be about profits. It just couldn't. It had to be about building a foundation, creating good habits and a solid system that he could actually build on later. So with that new foundation in place, he was finally ready for his big turning point. After all those years of searching and experimenting, he stumbled upon the one simple strategy that was going to change absolutely everything for him: the break and retest. It's funny. He actually found this by watching Forex traders on YouTube and just thought, hey, maybe I can apply this to stocks. And the concept itself is just beautifully simple. Here it is. Instead of freaking out and chasing a price as it rockets through a key level, you just wait. You patiently wait for it to come back down and retest that exact same level. Okay, so here's the entire playbook. Literally 4 simple steps. Step 1, you find a major level. Step 2, you wait for the price to break above it. Step 3, and this is the hard part, you do not chase it. You have to resist that urge. And then step 4, you enter your trade when the price comes back down to retest that old level. That's it. This one little trick helps you avoid that classic trap of buying at the absolute peak of FOMO.
Okay, but finding the strategy, that was really only half the battle. Having the blueprint is one thing, but actually building the skyscraper is a whole different ballgame. Phase 2 for him was all about mastering the psychology needed to scale that simple strategy into truly life-changing money.
And this comparison right here just captures that shift perfectly. I love this. He went from being lost in the wilderness of phase 1, just chasing money, to becoming a machine in phase 2. His focus totally flipped. It went from making money to building habits, from strategy hopping to strategy refinement. And the result? Well, you can see it right there. Exponential growth. So what did that actually look like day to day? Well, tactically, it was a huge change. He completely moved away from that super high stress minute-by-minute trading, what people call scalping. Instead, he started using longer-term options, looking at higher time frames like the daily and 4-hour charts. And why did he do that? To get rid of all the noise. It removed that emotional panic from the intraday craziness, and crucially, it allowed him to trade with bigger position sizes. I mean, the result speaks for itself. He went from grinding out $70,000 one year to making $500,000 the very next. And this right here is the core psychological breakthrough. This is huge. To handle those bigger and bigger positions, he had to literally stop looking at the dollar amount. He had to force himself to think only in percentages, to focus only on the process, not the P&L number jumping around on his screen. Basically,
He had to become totally disconnected from the money. Which brings us to the final and honestly the most important piece of this whole puzzle, the mindset. Because I'm telling you, even if you have the world's most perfect strategy, at the end of the day, you are your own worst enemy in the markets. Let's just start with some cold, hard math for a second. Let this sink in. If you lose 50% of your account, you have to make a 100% return just to get back to where you started. That's a brutal reality every single trader has to face. A big loss is just devastatingly hard to climb back from. And that's why managing your risk isn't just important, it's literally everything. So that begs the question, right? With everything we've talked about, the simple strategy, the scaling up, what is the single most important skill you need to develop as a trader? It's this: the ability to accept the loss. That's it. It's the discipline to take that small, planned loss without letting your ego or emotions get in the way. It's about just being able to say, you know what, I was wrong on this one, and moving on, before that small mistake snowballs into a catastrophic one. That skill, right there, is more valuable than any fancy entry signal you'll ever find.
Vincent himself brings up that famous quote, and it's so true for trading. For years, he was doing the exact same thing, making the same mistakes over and over, and secretly hoping for a different result. His real growth, his real success, only started the moment he finally decided to break that cycle of insanity.
So we're going to end this with the same challenge that he puts out there for every aspiring trader. If you're listening to this and you feel like you're just spinning your wheels, the path forward is actually pretty clear. You build a foundation, you master one process, and you learn to control your own mind. The only real question left is the one you got to ask yourself. When are you going to stop the nonsense and finally get serious?